Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Compose. I'm sorry it's been a while since my last episode. I've been travelling around a bit. I'm now in the UK for a while. I went to London, had a bit of fun there. I stayed with a percussionist friend, had a bit of business in town, and now I'm back up north for a while. It's nice to be back. It's nice to see England hasn't crumbled without me. I haven't forgotten about you guys, of course. I've got, in fact, an idea for another series, which I'm going to start very soon. In fact, I've got a couple ideas, so hopefully look forward to those. One of them is going to be quite like this, but faster moving. I know it's very slow. There's a lot of stuff to get through with this particular piece. Good to meet all the new subscribers. Good to see all the views and likes on my video. I think this is a good thing. I hope it's a good thing. If you believe it is, then subscribe or leave a like. And I'm very encouraged by the number of views I've got and the number of positive feedback I've got. So, back to this piece. I just thought I'd give you a quick update. I was going to give you a very different episode this time, and the next episode is going to be very different, but I was working a bit more on this idea. So these are the gears. I did a bit of research online. I got all of the specifications for the back gears, because previously we didn't have all these numbers in between. We just had 10 to 25, and that's all we knew. And now I've looked them up. In fact, we're replacing the 10. It was 11, now it's 10. So now I've got all the numbers. You can look them up yourself if you want. They're Shimano 105's 10-speed rear gear set. And that's a 5700, I believe it's called. Now, I've been working out these ratios again for the rhythms, if you remember what we talked about a couple of episodes ago. And it's pretty unavoidable. The difficult rhythms are pretty unavoidable. So we've got a 15 against a 30. That's easy, what I'm talking about. A 17 against a 30. We've got a 17 against 40, 17 against 50. So that's very hard. But I found a way that we can do it. It's inevitable that I was going to have to work out a way around this. And I'm going to talk about it now. So we're going to use something called metric modulation. And I'll explain what it is in a minute, but before I do, I'm going to explain why we're using it. So, I've got an example here of the gears that we're going to use. There's a 14 against a 30, which is easier than most, but still hard. So, if we just do 14 over 30 for a minute, we can divide that down by 2, and we get 7 over 15, which is not easy to do. So, let's just put it straight into a rhythm. 15 30-second notes. Not easy to calculate in your mind, but here we go. So 7 of those would be quaver, followed by 3 hemi-demi-semis, followed by 1 another quaver. Am I right? Yes, I am right. So, like that. How far I've got to there? That must be 14. So I've just got one more of these, and then it goes on. Now that's difficult. I mean, it's not the hardest rhythm to do or to think about, but it's not easy in the context of a wider piece to get that rhythmically exact. And I don't really want to mess with the performer's brain. So there is a way that we can make this easier to read, and that's really what we're doing. We're making it easier to read, easier to perform. We're not trying to change the rhythm in any way. So the first thing we can do is we can try using what's called nested tuplets. So a tuplet is what I've just shown you there. That's a 15 hemi-demi-semis. That's a tuplet. It's however many in the time of however many. Another way of expressing this would be 15 30 seconds. And actually I might use 30 seconds and 16ths rather than hemi-demis and semis, because a lot of the world uses 16ths and 8ths, etc., and doesn't use the Italian terms for these notes, and B, it's easier in my brain because I forget which is which. So that is a tuplet. What I mean by nested tuplets is you can have, for example, a tuplet of 5, and inside it you can have another tuplet of 5, or a tuplet of 3, etc. Just makes it slightly easier to read because you can break down the rhythm into more logical units. In the same way that if you have a bar of 4/4 and you use triplets and you use a Hocketing rhythm or anything like that, if you keep on breaking it up into 4/4, it's just easier to read. Everyone knows where the beats are and where the rhythm is in relation to the beats. What we have got is 15, and we know that's a 30 anyway, so we can divide 15 by 3 overall, which is a useful division because it's quite easy to work out what a triplet rhythm is. And if we divide 15 by 3, we get 5. So we know that for each of these beats, we have to divide each of those beats by 5, as it were. These are in 30-second notes, by the way. This is in quavers, because if you think a crotchet is divided by 2 quavers, so it's divided by 3 triplet quavers. So it's a 7 numerator. So we have 3, 2, and another 2. Now you'll see that's taken up the whole 5. So there's no point in having the tuplet there, it just makes it hard to read. Instead you replace it with a quaver, tied over to a 16th note, which is 2 30 seconds, so it's 2 plus 5 is 7. Then we carry on, so that's a 3 is left on there. Add that to another quaver quintuplet 30-second note, so that makes 3 plus 4 is 7, and then you just, whatever's left in that quintuplet, which is 1 30-second note, and it's tied over to whatever you get on the next note. So what I'm saying here is that you have a 7, 7, 7. Now, that is quite hard to read still. It's not as hard. You can see what the rhythm does. So if you have a rhythm of 3, 1, 2, 3, you know that the other rhythm goes something like this. Took me a while to get that one. It's really difficult to do straight off, as you can see, and it's going to be difficult for any performer. That is easier to do in that way because you have a very clear structure to it, a very easy triplet breakup. So what would be even easier than that though is if you didn't have this triplet at all. And actually this works out very well because essentially we're going to be using those divisions a lot. We're going to have whole sections which are all going to be in one big gear or another. So we've got a 30, a 40 and a 50 on the front derailleur. And I spend a long time in one or the other of them and then switch to the other only when it gets very fast or very slow. So instead of doing a nested tuplet like this, which is quite hard, what we can do is we can do a metric modulation. Now, so metric modulation is when the main beat changes tempo, but it does so based on a very fixed rhythm. So if you have a triplet quaver over this side, turn into a quaver on this side, and it's a funny way around to do it, I know, because you expect a quaver to equal a triplet quaver, but it makes more visual sense this way because the triplet is on this side in that tempo, and then the quaver is in this side in the new tempo. So a triplet in this tempo equals a quaver in that tempo. Essentially you're ratcheting the speed up by 3. So if you have a crotchet equals 90 beats per minute on this side, we have crotchet equals 90 times 3, so every crotchet there are 3 of these. To get the triplet quaver value, we times it by 3, and then you divide it by 2, because in every crotchet there's 2 quavers on this side, which equals 135 beats per minute per crotchet. So we go from crotchet equals 90 to crotchet equals 135, and essentially we've done away with this. And what you have over here is just the remaining rhythm, which is quaver, quintuplet, 30-second note, etc. Exactly what we've got written up there, etc. So that there is one crotchet's worth, I should say. And don't worry about the crotchet values, because we are going to have the crotchets going at the same time. In fact, we're going to have quavers going on at the same time. I forgot to mention that crotchet equals 90, that's the cadence. So that's the number of times 1 foot goes around an entire revolution every time. But you have 2 feet, so really the rhythm we're going to get is going to be like this. That's the cadence, 90 beats per minute. And then that's going to be offset against whatever this is, which is the gears, as we described before. So that's quite a lot of explanation there, but you can see that that's just a bit easier to understand, a bit easier to do. It's easier for a performer just to think of that rhythm, quintuplets, and to just about place where in the quintuplet you are. It's still not easy, but if the other good system about this, so one metric modulation we'll have is a triplet quaver going into quaver. The second one is on a 40 cog, which is just divided by 4, which is exactly what happens anyway. So we don't need to do a metric modulation for that. Fortunately, that's the middle gears. They're the gears that I spend the most time in, so we won't need to modulate for that one at all. Instead, you just get this rhythm anyway. It's very easy to read. Well, very easy. It's easier to read. For the largest cog and for the quickest music, we have 50, so it's a quintuplet. And it'll be a quintuplet semi-quaver. Is a semi-quaver on the other side, so crotchet equals 90 on one side, crotchet equals 90 times 5 over 4 is 450 over 4, it's 112.5 beats per minute for that rhythm. So there we go, that's what metric modulation is. I hope that's clear. It's a difficult bit of maths, this whole thing, and actually it's maths that I enjoy doing, and it takes a while to do. So I'm sorry if you feel composition should be a bit more improvisatory. I also feel that. I do improvise sometimes when I compose, but I think when you improvise within certain parameters. It's what you understand, and even if you don't know what those parameters are, even if you don't feel like you're doing so, you're set. So you have a set number of chords you're improvising to, you have a set number of ideas, you have a structure around which you're improvising. You write a melody. If you write a melody, then you are creating a set of bounds. So that's essentially what I'm doing here. In fact, I'm not creating a set of bounds, I'm creating a way of generating material, which is useful and makes makes a more cohesive structure, and one which is hopefully exciting and fun and portrays what I'm trying to portray in this piece. So I don't know why I'm defending this now, but anyway, I shall stop now. That's just to describe a bit of metric modulation, and hopefully you'll find that helpful to you in your composition. By the way, if you are watching this, the model that these videos are based on is quite an informal one. These videos are going to be quite long usually, and what I do is I stick the video on in the background and I do my own thing, and that's what I hope you're all doing. I hope you're all composing while you watch this. Anyway, so that's that metric modulation. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to be back again very soon with a new episode, and it's going to be very different to all of this. We will be back to this at some point, but next time it's going to be a bit different. Alright, I hope you enjoyed.